Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Corey, aka The Ninja Gamer, here to help you dominate your favourite games. Today's video outlines my personal class setup specifically for Warzone. This is what I feel works best for me. So, first things first, hop into your edit loadout options in your weapons menu. You're going to go to the class that you are wanting to change, and I'm currently running the Kilo 141 and the AUG. I have a blueprint for each of those, so I'm using the battle tested blueprint for the Kilo 141 assault rifle, and I'm using the Leecher blueprint for the AUG submachine gun, but I have made modifications to both of those. I'll quickly hop into the first primary, which is the Kilo 141 assault rifle, and we'll get into the attachments on that. First of all, I'm using the Monolithic Suppressor, or silencer, as most people would know it. This silences your gunshots so that you can't be seen on the minimap. You won't show up as that red ping as you normally would without a suppressor on. This means that if there are enemies close by, you're not alerting them of your current position. Next up, I have the Singuard Arms 19.8 inch Prowler barrel. This increases the damage range, increases your bullet velocity and recoil control with a little bit of movement speed reduction, but to be honest, you don't really notice it that drastically. Next up, I am running the Solozero NVG Enhanced Thermal Scope. The reason I run a thermal is it means I can see long distance and I can see enemy outlines nice and clear as long as I'm not wearing that ghost perk. It makes long shots nice and easy to get, and obviously if you're in that final circle trying to pick out enemy players, they show up as a nice easy target. In my underbarrel attachments, I am running the Ranger Foregrip. The Ranger Foregrip increases your recoil control, aim ability, accuracy, range, control, whilst mitigating a little bit of mobility once again. But to be honest, in the Warzone, with the playstyle that I play, I'm not doing a lot of movement, so I am set up with that gun practically stationary for the most part, picking off enemies as they come to me to make engagements. Finally, I'm using the 100 round drum mag. This means throughout my gameplay, I am not having to change my magazine as often. I can put lots and lots of bullets in at the enemy without ever having to reload, which means I have an upper hand on the enemy if they do have to reload. It means I can get as many shots in as I can before I need to make any adjustment. My second primary weapon is the AUG. The reason I run the AUG is it's a nice fast weapon. It has an incredibly quick time to kill, I believe one of the highest on the game, and it is massively good in those close range combat situations. Firstly, once again, I'm using that Monolithic Suppressor to keep those radar pings off the map. I'm using the 622mm long barrel, increasing the accuracy, range and control of this gun. It allows you to shoot long distance and short distance while still keeping that high fire rate. Next up is the VLK 3x Optic Zoom. The reason I use this is it's a nice reticle. It can be used short distance, long distance to get those nice accurate shots, but this is entirely down to personal preference, so if you prefer a mini reflex or you prefer a holographic sight, then you could change that accordingly. Next up once again is the Ranger Foregrip underbarrel, again increasing that range, accuracy and control, whilst mitigating a little bit of mobility, but as I said before, that's not something I massively need anyway. Finally, once again, another drum mag, 60 rounds. 60 rounds in a submachine gun is a very large mag. It means I can get into those close combat situations without having the worry of having to reload halfway through, and it gives me that upper hand on the enemy if I should need so. So, that covers both of the weapons that I currently use. We'll quickly hop into the perks and I'll explain what perks I'm using and why I'm running them. First and foremost, I'm using the Cold-Blooded perk. This allows me to be undetectable by thermal optics. It means that if I'm laid down in some grass or I'm making a push on the enemy, I'm going to be harder to see from those thermal optics. Often people using sniper rifles at long distance means I'm more difficult to see, and I can make those pushes a lot easier, or I can stay hidden in those situations when I need to. The second perk that I'm running is Overkill. Obviously the Overkill perk allows me to carry two primary weapons, which is undeniably a must in the Warzone. Carrying two primary weapons instead of a pistol or a melee or something like that, it means no matter what situation I come to, whether it's long distance or close combat, it means I have a weapon accordingly for those situations and can make those perfect gunfights no matter what. In the perk 3 slot, I am running Tracker. Tracker allows you to see enemy footsteps after an enemy has been in a specific location. This is especially helpful if you're chasing a downed enemy to confirm that kill, or if you're following that downed enemy back to their team whilst they're reviving. It means you can make a nice fast push on that team so they can't revive that player, and you can get their team wiped nice and quick. Tracker also allows you to see enemy death markers and hide your own kill markers to show potential enemy positions and to hide your position from other players. Occasionally, in that third slot, I do run the Spotter perk if my teammates are running Tracker to see where enemy equipment is, more so to protect myself and my team, and to find enemy locations if I'm pushing a building. Also, the ability to hack enemy equipment can benefit massively. It means you could hack that equipment and then use it against the team that placed it there in the first place. Or you can make nice quick pushes because you don't have to worry about the enemy's equipment being there because it is now yours. In the lethal slot, I am running a proximity mine. Proximity mines can be used to protect a location that you're holding out in, or to destroy those pesky people running in vehicles trying to knock people down in the war zone. Another use for the proximity mine is to potentially booby trap vehicles such as helicopters, or to booby trap buy stations for future players that are going to either try and take that helicopter or use that buy station. Just a nice easy kill and one less person or one less team to worry about further down the line, potentially in that final game situation. In the tactical slot, I am running a heartbeat sensor, because that allows me to check buildings before I enter them, or it allows me to sweep locations nice and quickly, knowing fine well that there's not going to be anyone there, obviously unless they're running that ghost perk, so you still have to take that extra precaution. But to be honest, in most teams, there's always going to be at least one person that's not running the ghost perk, and it will give the location of that specific player or that specific team away, and thus you can either avoid them or you can make those contacts as and when you need to. This is also incredibly helpful in the final circle. If I can't find a player visually, it means I can check that heartbeat sensor, and if they are on the heartbeat sensor, I can find out that location, I can ping it for myself and my teammates, and we can make that push, knowing fine well that there's either a team or a single person in that location, and we can gun them down accordingly. In relation to the ghost perk, I do also have a duplicate class set up, which is exactly the same as the first class, but this time it has ghost instead of overkill, which means throughout the game, if I do have the option to get a second loadout, I will pick up this class just so I have ghost, so I'm off those UAVs, I'm off those heartbeat sensors, and it means in that final circle, I'm even more difficult to find. It just means when I get that second loadout, I have to make sure to remember to pick up that second primary that I had in my first loadout that will just drop beside the box, so it's not an issue at all. You can still carry those two weapons. It just means you need a second loadout if you wish to do that, but to be honest, there's plenty of free loadout drops dropping around the map as and when you go. Just as long as you're fast and safe in doing so, you can get those loadouts, get straight out, and you are perfectly set for the end game situation. So that concludes this video on my personal preference for my class setup for in the Warzone. Obviously this class setup isn't something I'd use online on multiplayer. It is built specifically for the Warzone, and it is built to my personal preference as to how I play, and it might not work for everyone, or it might need tweaked to better your playstyle or to better suit you as a player individually, but it is something I would highly recommend as it is perfect for any situation you get yourself into. My next video coming out shortly will outline the tips and tricks I use daily to get more and more wins in Call of Duty Warzone, specifically tactics and techniques to maximize your chance of getting more wins. Obviously, to see that video, please do like and subscribe this video and stick around for the next one, which should hopefully be coming out in the next couple of days. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I shall see you in the next video.